How's everyone doing today? Oh, come on. All right, I got a question for you. Very important question. How many of you, can I have this work, please? Who loves to buy auto insurance? Raise your hand. Anybody? Anybody? I don't know anybody who loves to buy auto insurance. And here's something interesting. I asked this question to someone and he said, insurance sucks. Nobody wants to buy insurance. It's not fun. And what was interesting was this was the CEO of an insurance company. McKeel Hagerty tells me insurance sucks. But he also told me that he went out and expressly challenged his business for how they can build fans. And they have a B2B division. They're selling to insurance agents. And what they did was they totally focused on cultivating fandom. And here are some of the things that they do. So what they do is they educate people at classic auto shows. So their focus is in classic car insurance. They teach your kid how to in your own classic car, because the last thing you want to do is let your kid drive that classic car when you're teaching them how to drive stick shift. You can renew your wedding vows in your classic car. Hagerty will do that for you. They've got a fabulous magazine, online classic car content, and they have a fabulous YouTube channel where they focused on what they call barn finds, or really cool classic cars that they find on the side of the road or in people's barns. So let's watch one of those videos right now. Gentlemen, could we have, thank you.
Driving down this country road for our late afternoon appointment, and I saw this out of the corner of my eye. I suppose it's a 65, although I'm not sure. Let's see, it's a 5T, I think 5 probably means 65, but I'm not sure, but 5T 07C.
And for classic car enthusiasts, this geeking out is amazing. They love it. This channel, 640,000 subscribers, 432,000 people saw this particular video. This is an insurance company, remember? They have the classic car value reports, what to buy in 2019, and a valuation tool where you can see over time how the value of a particular car changes. So for example, here's my car that I covet, a 1961 Maserati 3500 GT, currently trading at $213,000. One day I will own one of those. They have a drivers club, 600,000 members. Right here in Scottsdale, every January, there's the most important classic car event in this country. And it's a series of auctions. There's the Bonhams auction. There's the Barrett-Jackson auction. There's the Gooding auction and the Sotheby's auction. They're all happening here, but interestingly, they all happen at the same time. So classic car enthusiasts can't see all of those auctions. It's physically impossible to be in the room at all of them. A room like this one where these cars are sold. They created at Hagerty an app where you can track in real time the auction results at the different auctions. And I've become a massive fan of Hagerty as a result of this content. There's my 1973 Land Rover Series 3. I'm a customer of theirs. And what McKeel Hagerty told me is, we went out and expressly challenged ourselves, how can we build fans? We discovered we're pretty good at it. We have had fun doing it, and it matters because that's our word-of-mouth growth engine. And the B2B aspect of it, of selling to insurance companies, which then sell their products onwards, is doing fabulously well. Hagerty is the largest classic car insurance company. They have double-digit compound growth every year. 200,000 new customers are expected this year, all based on building fans. It's something I think every one of us can do. But what I've noticed is that so many people are focused almost exclusively on the whole online thing. And I believe that the pendulum has swung too far in the direction of superficial online communication, time when we are hungry for a human connection. 10 years ago, I was a huge proponent of social media. Oh my gosh, rainbows are coming out and everyone's going to love one another and social media is going to be the best thing in the planet. But what I've noticed recently is there's disruption and chaos and fake news and polarization and spam and all kinds of things going on online that makes it more difficult for us to reach people through social media. It's not going away, and it's still an important aspect, and I'm still very much somebody who uses social media. But most companies are not building powerful relationships with their customers because they're not developing fans, because they're not treating people as a human. They're focused too much on this idea of digital, which is turning into digital chaos for many people. The anecdote to that, the idea of fandom, of cultivating fandom, is how you can overcome digital chaos. For the past 5 years, I've spent tons and tons of time researching this idea of fandom. Researching, why does somebody become a fan of something? Why have I seen 75 Grateful Dead concerts? What's up with that? Why is my now 26-year-old daughter, why did she, when she was 18 years old, spend practically every night for a year writing a 90,000-word alternative ending to the Harry Potter series, where Draco Malfoy was a spy for the Order of the Phoenix, and publish it on a fan fiction site for free and generate thousands and thousands of people who liked and commented on that? What drives that kind of fandom? And furthermore, can we capture that kind of fandom in our business, in our B2B business, in any kind of business? The answer is yes. And so this is the concept of developing fans, and something I'm incredibly passionate about. And my daughter, who I just mentioned, and I are now finishing up a book on the subject, working title Fandom. Tony Robbins has written the foreword to the book. Let me describe one of my fandoms, my biggest fandom. I am a massive live music fan. My first rock concert at age 15, I have seen 760 since then. Yes, I am such a fan geek that I keep a spreadsheet of my live music fandom. Let me share some of the more epic experiences. 16 years old, Led Zeppelin at Madison Square Garden, not bad. It's fabulous. That is my ticket. I did not take the photo. A couple years later, I saw The Clash in Asbury Park, New Jersey. Again, my ticket, my button. I didn't take the photo. I did start to take some photos, however. This one I took at a Rolling Stones concert. And could I ask the music just a little more loudly, because I love it so much. And front row of a Rolling Stones concert, not bad. So I started taking pictures. Here's another one. For those of you who love Jack White, I was way up front for Jack White at Fenway Park, one of my favorite bands. And for those of you who now think you've got me dialed in for what kind of music I like, I want to throw a little bit of a loop in here. So I am, yes, believe it or not, a Miley Cyrus fan. And here's a Miley Cyrus show at a club in Boston. She was backed by the Flaming Lips. And if you are not a Miley Cyrus fan, I encourage you to listen to some of her covers, because she is a fabulous singer. So maybe you'll become a Miley Cyrus fan too. Here is something that's rather epic. I was the only person taking photographs at Bob Marley's last concert. And it was in 1980 in the Stanley Theater in Pittsburgh. I was 19 years old. For whatever reason, when my college buddies and I decided to go to this show, I grabbed the camera from the yearbook person, and I brought it with me. We're driving 4 hours from where I went to school at Kenyon to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, partaking in various commodities. And you can see it slightly out of focus, and you might know why. But the only known photographs these are very famous. They've been used in films, they've been used in documentaries, they've been used in books, hanging in the Stanley Theater. The Bob Marley family has these photographs as well. Fandom is not about your products and services. Fandom is about relationships with people. Here are some of the people that I've gone to live concerts with. My buddy Brian Halligan, the CEO of HubSpot, up on their left. We've been to 100 shows together. My daughter Allison on the right, we've been to 100 shows together. I love the idea of concerts, but fandom is about shared emotion. And this is biologically evolved, this idea of shared emotion. When we share something with somebody else, it makes us feel great. That shared emotion is what drives fandom. It's vital to human survival. It's hardwired into us. We cannot change that. Here is my working definition of this idea of fandom. It's something you're incredibly passionate about. It makes you extremely happy. Woohoo, I'm going to a rock concert. How cool is that? You are eager to replicate it. When am I going to have an opportunity to do this again? You have good friends who do this with you. In many cases, your friends in one of your fandom cultures, you may not see them outside of that fandom. And you devote significant time and/or money to it. I have 3 very big fandoms. I mentioned the idea of going to rock concerts with my friends. I'm also a massive geek about the Apollo lunar program. I wrote a book about the Apollo lunar program, and that's now being turned into a 3-part miniseries. It will premiere on July 8th of this year, which is just about 2 weeks before the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 lunar landings. The series is going to be on PBS American Experience. And I'm a massive fan of surfing, although I'm not very good. But those are my 3 fandoms. What I'd like to do now is take 2 minutes and ask you to either turn to the person next to you and think about your fandoms together, or just think about it yourself. And I'd like you to take a look at my definition of fandom, those 5 things. How many, and then consider, how many important fandoms do you have? Remember, I have 3. And of those fandoms, which is the one that you are most passionate about? When did you start that fandom? For me, going to live rock concerts at age 15. 2 minutes, go. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, how are you doing? We have 30 seconds to go. 30 seconds to go in our 2 minutes. Okay, let's wrap it up now. Let's wrap it up, and I encourage you to continue the conversation about fandom at the lunch break or tonight when you're having a cocktail. And now I'd like to find out how a few of you answered these questions. So if I could ask people for a show of hands, and take a look around the room because this is really interesting. A show of hands. For how many important fandoms do you have? Is there anybody who has 0? And it's okay, there's nothing wrong with 0. Raise your hand so we can see it. There's usually a couple of people who have 0. How many people have 1 massive fandom? Raise your hand so we can all see and look around the room. Let's call that, 20%. How many people have 2 massive fandoms? And let's call that another 30%. How about 3? That's how many I have, 3 massive fandoms. 4? Or 4 or more? So this room, the sweet spot's about 2.5 massive fandoms. Fascinating. Now this one will interest you, at least it interests me because I've done this a couple of times already. Of the one that you are most passionate about, at what age did you start? How many people elementary school age, so like 12 or under? Raise your hand really high so we can look at all the hands in the room. Now isn't that fascinating? How many people middle school age-ish, so 13, 14, 15 years old, something like that? Raise your hand really high. How about high school years and college years? We'll put those two together. Your 20s. How many people? Raise your hand for your 20s. Your 30s. It's aging, some of us, I know. How about 40 or more? I don't want to go up to any higher than that, although my hand would be up in the 50s. Now that's really interesting. What's interesting about that, and this research has shown, as I've done this research a number of different times, that most of us are quite young, early teenagers, when we develop our massive fandoms. That's fascinating to me. So, an organization's ability to build meaningful human connection will bring success in today's chaotic world. Your challenge, all of our challenges as marketers, is how can we capture that fandom in our business? B2B, it's fine, it still works. Here are the elements of fandom as I've figured out doing this research. And by the way, anybody who wants my slides, in a couple of minutes I'm going to share with you how you can get them. I want to do a deep dive into several of these, but these are the ones that are important. Relationship-centric, the magic of proximity. Let go of your creations. Beyond the transaction, giving gifts, the compassion of storytelling, transparency and truth, your brand ambassadors, and finally, a passionate life. I'm going to dig deep into a couple of those. The first one being, let go of your creations. What I've noticed as I've done the research is that some companies are so dogged in their desire to tell customers exactly how to use their products and services that they're completely missing the fan-based culture that has blossomed around them. Let's take a real quick look at Photoshop. There is a massive fandom that has developed around the Photoshop software, but that fandom is happening outside of Adobe and Photoshop. So I learned about this from someone who's a huge fan of Photoshop. And she said to me, oh my gosh, we just laugh about this. But Adobe says it's incorrect to say the image was photoshopped. It's correct to say the image was enhanced using Adobe R, Photoshop R software. Adobe says it's incorrect to say Photoshop's new features are impressive. It's correct to say the new features in Adobe R, Photoshop R software are impressive. The person who shared this with me said, everything that's incorrect sounds like a fan speaking. Everything that's correct sounds like an Adobe robot. So your challenge, all of our challenges, and in B2B worlds like this, is to let go of our creations. Let go of our creations. And to give some thought to this idea of different types of fandom and how to let go, I want to share with you two different types of fandom. There's curative fandom, which is the idea of official fandom. So this is the idea of what the organizers want you to think and do. And it manifests itself in things like statistics and data. It's the official website. It's the official social media feed. It's me geeking out and writing down the names of all the concerts that I've been to and what date it was. But there's also transformational fandom, which in many ways is more interesting. The idea of transformational fandom is the idea of modifying what was made by somebody and making it our own as fans, creating something new, fan fiction, fan art. That's a fan-built website. That's fan-built social media. That's the idea of transformative fandom. So let's look at a couple of examples. In the world of cars, on the left, we have curative fandom. Those gentlemen love Land Rovers, but they keep them exactly as if they had just gotten off the assembly line. The people on the right also love cars, but they're into hot rods. They modify them completely so that they transform them into something else, completely away from the manufacturer that originally made them. Curative fandom. Major League Baseball, the statistics, what are the teams doing? Fantasy baseball, transforming it into something new. How about this one? This is the one that really opened my eyes. Curative fandom, the book about Alexander Hamilton, the data, the facts. Transformative fandom, the play Hamilton, a race-bent depiction of Hamilton using rap. Most popular play, I think, ever, certainly for a long time. Here's an example that comes actually from my daughter. This is The Morrigan, from the book called The Wicked and the Divine. Any Wicked and Divine fans here? So it's a pretty obscure one. Do we have a hand over there? Oh, awesome. I love it. I love it so much. Okay, so this character, the Morrigan, can transform herself into 3 forms. And my daughter, Allison, who's now 26, has been going to New York Comic Con now since she was 18 years old. And every year, she and her friends transform into one of the characters of their favorite book. And most recently, they transformed into the Morrigan. Now, what's interesting to me is that many people say, oh, Comic-Con, that's just a bunch of kids screwing around. But these kids are really, really smart. All of them graduated from Columbia University. Claire on the left is an astrophysicist. Jenny on the right is an editor at a New York publishing house. My daughter Allison in the middle is currently 3rd year at Boston University School of Medicine. And she said, Daddy, when we went to see the Comic-Con, we wanted to meet the authors of The Wicked and Divine. And we went down to where they were, where we knew they would be having a place to meet, and we were scared. I said, why were you scared, Allison? She said, because we were worried that they wouldn't like and appreciate what we did to get dressed up. And I said, well, what happened? And we got there, and we were pretty shy, and we wanted to maybe take a picture of them. And before we even got to their table, they stood up, the two authors, put their arms in the air, and yelled, "Amazing!" And in fact, this photograph was taken by them and shared on their social media. They encourage the idea of transformational fandom. Fandom is built on the experiences of its members, not limited to the imagination of one creator. I learned that also from a video game designer, Ubisoft, which is one of the biggest video game designers in the world. Tommy Francois, who runs their editorial department, said, for us, the key in building simulations is letting the fans take over. Which brings me to a B2B example, Microsoft. The Microsoft partner community is a totally transformational form of fandom. It's an unlikely example of what I've just shared. It's similar to the Morgan in some ways. Why? Because the Microsoft partner community represents by far the largest revenue for the entire company of Microsoft. And I've spoken for not the last 5 years, I've spoken 5 years at the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference. That partner conference is curated not by Microsoft, but by Microsoft's partners. The Microsoft community, partner community, they answer questions themselves. No Microsoft involved. Sure, Microsoft people lurk, but it's the questions and answers of the community. And what Katie Quigley told me, who's at Microsoft, she's the Senior Director of Marketing Communications, is you don't want to hear something from the company that's trying to sell you something. You want to hear from your peers. So Microsoft, embracing this idea of transformational fandom. The results over at Microsoft, $95 billion in annual revenue from the partner channel alone. Let me repeat. $95 billion from the partner channel. 300,000 partner companies, 1.5 million individual partner community members. No matter what product or service or art you are selling, it's important to understand when you put your product out into the world, it's no longer fully yours. So how are you going to get people to embrace it? It's by letting go. Secondly, giving gifts. So I've noticed that this idea of giving gifts has been bastardized. Rather than giving stuff away, we B2B marketers insist on these inane forms. I would like us to think how we might change that model and instead give something away completely free, expecting absolutely nothing in return. Because neuroscience tells us when we give a gift, expecting nothing in return, good things actually come back to us because people feel compelled to return that gift giving. So I've geeked out about music a bunch of times. How many Grateful Dead fans do we have? Excellent. Please stand up if you've seen the Grateful Dead in concert, or any band that followed the Grateful Dead with any member of the original band. So that would be Rat Dog, Phil Lesh, Dead and Company, any of those bands. Great, we're all on the bus. Congratulations to us. Keep standing. There is a prize for the winner. If you have seen 5 or more Grateful Dead concerts or any of the bands that follow the Grateful Dead, keep standing. Now we're going to get down to it. Look, I can see you're mentally counting.
It's hard to remember.
It's hard to remember, he says. I won't ask you why. 10 or more, keep standing. 25 or more. Is there anyone standing? You're standing back there? Okay. How many, sir? 53. All right. Does that include the bands that followed? How about including those? Do you know? Okay, so 70. How many? 35. 45. Okay, and here? 75. I think, can you be the winner? All right. Anybody more than 75? 105. Yeah, 105. Anybody more than 105? Awesome. May I have your name, sir? I'm going to come around this way. Kevin? Hey, Kevin, it's great to meet you. Here's a copy of Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead, which is a book I wrote. Grab me later, I'll sign it. He already has the book.
The digital copy.
Oh, you have the digital copy. You win. I'll sign it for you later. So I wrote this book with Brian Halligan, the CEO of HubSpot. He's on the left, who has seen the band more than 100 times. Bill Walton also helped us write the book. He has seen the Grateful Dead 850 times. And the reason I'm talking about this is because other bands, this is a Rolling Stone ticket, said no cameras, no audio allowed. The Grateful Dead said, sure, why not? Bring in your recording gear. So people recorded the shows. And by recording the shows, what they ended up doing was creating the content that people like I shared, that people like Kevin shared, and then that drove people into the Grateful Dead fandom, like me, still spending money on concert tickets. I went to Mexico last month, 3 nights of Dead and Company. I'm still spending money on the band. That idea of giving away content for free is something we B2B marketers should be thinking about. This is MailerMailer. They do email marketing software. They have something called the Email Marketing Metrics Report. Originally, that report required registration. When they made it completely free, people talked about it. They shared links to it. It went to #1 in the search engine results. And some people say, but David, we're a commodity product. How can we give stuff away for free? Which brings me to Duracell. They're doing a fabulous job building fans. It's a battery company. I know, how cool is that? They're developing fans. They have something called the Power Forward program. The way that works is when there's a natural disaster, the most important thing that people want is batteries. And you would think that they would say, oh, this is a great time to sell batteries because our product is in incredible demand. But no, they give the batteries away for free through this Power Forward program. So they have these purpose-built trucks that go to disaster sites, floods, hurricanes, fires, other natural disasters where there's no power, and they give away batteries. Here's another one of the trucks. This one happens to be four-wheel drive to get through tough situations. After Hurricane Maria, they worked with FEMA and the U.S. Air Force to bring their trucks down to Puerto Rico. And people were incredibly psyched, waiting in line to get free batteries, and they talked that up on social media. This is a commodity product. It's a battery company with 6.5 million fans who have expressed their fandom publicly on Facebook. Here's what one resident said. The storm has not been good. The house is cold. We're out of everything, and everywhere is closed or cash only. We'll make the best of it, and now we can use flashlights. And Ramon, who's the vice president of marketing at Duracell, when I spoke with him, said, this is the absolute brand promise of our company, delivering power when it is most needed. And for us, it was an easy choice to make the batteries free and not try to gouge people when they were most in demand. And that drives fans at a company, this company, Duracell. The third thing I wanted to spend a moment on is this concept of proximity. This is something that every single one of us can do. B2B companies, B2C, doesn't matter what you are. You can use the concept of proximity to help build fans. So I've already established in many ways I'm a live music fan. Recently went to Outside Lands in San Francisco because I was really eager to see St. Vincent, an artist I had not seen before. And so I went early to the stage where St. Vincent was going to be playing, an hour early, and I was able to get right up front. Here's a photograph I took of where I was standing. And the show was really cool. So the show is going on, and I'm enjoying it because I took the time to come up and be in the front row. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so cool. I'm here in the front row. It's great. It's fabulous. And then something remarkable happened. It became one of the most memorable things of the entire, not just this show, but the entire festival. She came down front and played in the audience. She became proximate to us. And it was magical. The whole place became electric. Not just those who were next to her. The whole place became electric as she did this. And I was right in front, and it was really pretty awesome. And it only lasted for a moment. And then she said, okay, I'm done. And she goes back up on the stage. But in that moment, she transformed her performance from being up on stage to being down among us. And here's the shot I took. Now, what's interesting about this is that when people were talking about the most important moment of all of Outside Lands from that year, it was that moment. Here's the Rolling Stones article. There's the geek right there, you can see him. Here's another photograph, and there's the geek. I got the camera in front of me the whole time. There's another photo, and there's the geek. And so this was the moment people were talking about. This was the electric moment. It turns out neuroscience tells us the closer you get to someone, the more powerful the shared emotions are. There's 4 areas of space that we humans are biologically programmed to be thinking about. This is not something we can control. It's hardwired into us. The first is public space. I'm now in your public space. I'm more than 12 feet away from all of you. Maybe I'll move a little bit back to be more than 12 feet in front of the front row. That's public space. We begin to track people. We can't help it. It's in our subconscious when they start to get into our social space, which is between 4 feet and 12 feet away. So if you go into a cocktail party or today at breakfast, you mentally track the different people that are in the room. You can't help it. It is something we humans all do. Then personal space, about 1.5 feet to 4 feet, cocktail party distance when you're sharing a cocktail with somebody and sort of an arm's length. Then there's intimate space, which is very close. You could actually put your arm around somebody. And once you recognize that somebody is to be trusted, the closer you get to them, the more powerful the shared emotions. And we humans do this. We can't help ourselves because we want to know, our primitive brain, is this other person in my space friend, foe? Are they going to eat me? Is it somebody I might mate with? We can't help it. That's the way we think. So St. Vincent went from somebody in my personal space, more than 12 feet away, to somebody in my public space, more than 12 feet away, to my personal space, within 1.5 feet and 4 feet from me. So my question to all of you is, how can you get within the social or personal space of your customers? This conference is a fabulous example of that. Look at all of us who want to be here because we're in proximity with other marketers. Sure, this could be done online totally, but we want to physically be here. This is Josh. He's an egg entrepreneur. He started his business when he was 9 years old by selling eggs door to door. At age 11, he started to sell eggs at farmers markets. Now, both of these examples, door-to-door farmers markets, he's in close proximity with his customers. Then he started to do B2B and sell to supermarkets. But Josh, every Saturday, and sometimes after school on weekdays, would go to some of the supermarkets like Kohl's, who sold his eggs, to continue to remain in proximity with his customers, in the personal space of his customers. Josh is now 17 years old. Josh sells 9,000 dozen eggs per week, and he employs his parents in his business. He's figured out this idea of proximity. I would submit to you that these people at Starbucks, except for the two in the back who are facing away from us, none of those people know one another, yet they enjoy being proximate to each other. They enjoy sharing social space with one another. Yes, there's other reasons people go to Starbucks, but an important aspect of that is the fact that we can be together with like-minded people. So this idea of this kind of proximity, you say to me, but David, you know, we're a B2B business. I'm not selling eggs. I'm not a rock star. How can I get in proximity of other people? Well, it turns out that a concept called mirror neurons from neuroscience allows all of us, every single one of us, to be proximate to other people. Here's how this idea works. Neuroscience tells us that when we do something, we experience in our brains, pretty obvious. I take a sip of water. My brain lights up. I take a bite of apple. My brain lights up. But here's what's interesting. The idea of mirror neurons is that your brain lights up too when I take that sip of water. You see me do it. Your brain is lighting up in the same way that my brain is lighting up. And that means that if you can put yourself in proximity with your customers in a virtual way that other people can see it, you have an opportunity to do exactly what Josh did with his egg business, exactly what St. Vincent did with her performance. Now, you will have noticed I purposely put myself in proximity of people twice during my presentation. Did you notice that? Once, when I was asking the questions about fandom, and I was purposely walking around the audience. And I was in many of your social space and even some of your personal space. Then, when I asked the questions about the Grateful Dead, I was also in the audience, and I actually got in the intimate space of Kevin. No, we didn't get intimate, but I shook his hand. Now, what's interesting is that because of mirror neurons, those of you who saw that, even though I wasn't in your social space or personal or intimate space, your brain lit up as if I was. That's one reason I believe that selfies are so interesting. Because when people post a selfie on social networks, it's as if you are proximate to that person too. So by the way, if you ever meet a former or existing president, don't just walk up to them and get into their intimate space. The Secret Service don't like that. But if you say, Mr. President, may I get a selfie? Oh, sure, come on in, and you can get a selfie with the president. And the Secret Service will be really cool about that. Selfies are really interesting for that way. That's one reason why this is the most tweeted tweet of all time, is because we feel we are in the intimate space of those celebrities. So we're going to do a selfie right now. I'm going to ask, why don't I ask anyone from this front row here? So Brian and Tim, would you like to come up? Just come up here on the stage with me if you'd like to. You don't have to, but if you'd like to, right up here on the stage. We'll do this really quickly. We're going to do a selfie, but we're going to get everyone in it as well. Could I have the house lights up, please, gentlemen? And I'm going to turn this way. And now we're going to get, come in like you pretend you like me.
I can do that.
Okay, great. And then I'm going to go like this, or get a whole bunch of, come over around, look over Tim's shoulder. All right, excellent. There we go. We got everyone in it. Now you're in the back wave, because I can see some of you. Okay, great. Thank you all very much for being in my selfie. Now, I'm putting this out on Twitter right now. You can see at the bottom of my slides is my Twitter ID, and I'm putting this out through also the hashtag. So hopefully it's in focus. And it is now going, so I would encourage you to please RT and like and whatever else you'd like to do with that. By the way, that's me at the selfie bar doing a selfie. That's kind of meta, don't you think? That was in Moscow. So this idea of mirror neurons and proximity becomes very, very interesting when it comes to video for B2B marketers. This is Kyle. He's at HubSpot Academy, part of the way HubSpot does their marketing. And I'd like to play for you a very short 1-minute video of how Kyle gets in our social and personal space through his video, and through mirror neurons, we believe that we are in his social and personal space. It's why we think we know celebrities.
Hey, it's Kyle from HubSpot Academy. I'm going to give you 10 inbound sales tips in 1 minute. Ready? Go. First, the most important thing to know is who your target buyer is. Everything you do should reflect your understanding of them. Second, your sales process should be like a water slide. When people get to the end of it, they should want to go on it again and tell their friends to do the same. Third, there are lots of people you can sell to. Find the people you can be a hero to. Fourth, as a salesperson, you're the world's leading expert on questions other people have about your product. Post answers to the most common questions on your website. Fifth, if you're in sales, you're in customer service. You set the tone for a person's entire relationship with your company. Sixth, try sending personalized videos to individual prospects. Use Loom, Vidyard, or Soapbox and see what results you get. Seventh, we all know that the internet empowers buyers, but it empowers sellers too. Find ways to use technology to your advantage. Eighth, making someone hate you is worse than selling nothing at all. Ninth, people don't like talking about their pain points. Ask them about their goals and the challenges that are holding them back. 10, sales has always been about helping companies grow. Inbound sales is about helping your company grow better. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like.
So that's the idea of how you too can be in the personal and social space of your customers. 25,000 subscribers to HubSpot Academy. That particular video, 119,000 followers. This is the idea of mirror neurons. HubSpot has done a great job building fans. I've seen it because I've been on their advisory board since 2007. And they're doing great. $513 million in revenue for 2018, $7 billion market cap. So here are the elements of fandom. The final element is this idea of a passionate life. Because if you live a life of fandom, if you live the life of someone who's passionate about something, like me in rock concerts, me in surfing, me in the Apollo program, and those fandoms that you have, you are more likely to be able to share fandoms with other people around your products and services. Because when we have passions, we lead a more interesting life filled with positive emotions and deep friendships. If you want to get my slides and other content videos and so on, please text me at 345-345. Text the word FAN, F-A-N, to 345-345, and I will be happy to send you slides and other things periodically from time to time. Because this is about turning fans into customers and customers into fans. 345-345. So finally, the last thing I wanted to mention is that there are so many, I'm looking at you, so many people today, here, right now, among us, who have stickers on their computer. They're fans of something. Frequently, they're fans of B2B companies. And what's interesting about this fandom is that, yes, B2B companies can develop fans. And we can develop the kinds of fans who are so passionate that they're even willing to put a sticker on their computer to share their fandom with other people who see them. And I find this to be fascinating. So those people who say, oh, I'm in a commodity business, I can't develop fans, or those people who say, oh, I'm in the B2B business, I can't develop fans. No, all of us can develop fans. And you might even be able to develop fandom such that people are eager to put a sticker of your company onto their computer. Now, isn't that the ultimate? So into your company that they're eager to put a sticker of your company onto their computer. So my question for you is, how will you grow your fandom? I'm David Meerman Scott. I am honored to be here. Thank you all very, very much. And I'll be here for the rest of the day. Thanks very much.